separating ideas from people, and the way that debates are now increasingly conducted. I mean, as we're sitting here recording this won't go out for a while, but there's literally some of America's most prominent journalists saying that they have micro penises online. And it seems to me like that, I mean, that's kind of a direct continuation of this, like where you no longer discuss any of the issues, and it's just you're on the wrong side of history, you're the other. And what gets lost is the actual conversation.
And it's deeply offensive to people from the micro-penis community.
Absolutely.
I think it's largely, I've been working on this book that's coming out that kind of delves into this. I think it comes back to the laws of narrative and the fact that we can't separate the character from the narrative psychologically. It's impossible. I think it's largely because their narratives are built on their business is built on their claims. When you become wed to your ideas, that becomes your brand. Now you're defending your brand. You're less likely to change your mind, and then it leads into these wars that we're seeing now. So that's my approach is different, because I don't find that to be. There's things that I feel strongly about still, right? But those are my first principles. That's not what we're seeing. We're seeing how the first principles manifest into politics. And frankly, politics is kind of boring to me compared to the deeper dynamics beneath all this.
I totally agree, and it's one of the reasons we have had a lot of political guests on the show, but we've increasingly felt like that we want to space them out, if having any of them at all. And I mean, when we started, our rule was we don't have politicians on the show. And then, you kind of, things are going on in the world, you want to hear some of their perspectives, whatever. But over time, you're definitely right that it kind of, you end up playing a totally different game, and it's not the game we want to play. And by the way, I think there is plenty of space, and you're demonstrating, I hope we're demonstrating it, for content, which is not about we're on this team or on this team, but more like we are adjudicating the issues that come up as we go, and we have some principles that guide us in that. But like, a lot of people won't be able to tell what we think about an issue that comes up. They try to, but often they're surprised by that. And I think a lot of people find that very discombobulating, because they just want you to be on their team.
Yeah, I mean, that's been an eye-opener as well for me. Yeah, there's been content creators where, because I do this format where I like looking at the dynamics of these interactions, and you're not going to win them all. Everyone is going to have ones that go well, and because we're wrong about certain things, and sometimes even when you're right, it's going to go poorly. It isn't the nature of debates. And I don't even like thinking of myself as a debater. But I've noticed that as well, where people got really pissed at me because I disagreed with him on one video, and that took me aback. And there is this sense, I've had a lot of people where there is this team dynamic. It's, yeah, but you're supposed to be on our ideological team, but it's important to note, there's not a single person I'm going to agree with on everything. I have risen. We were kind of referring to that.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, one of the difficulties is if you play the team game, which I understand why people play, because it's comfortable and there's lots of money to be made and friendships and, gatherings and all, there's lots of advantages, network advantages to being part of a thing. I don't think that's really compatible with having solid principles. And I'm not even that interested in it anymore, but like the Candace Owens situation is a very good example of this, where she's making claims about the fact that Erica Kirk killed her husband with the connivance of Egypt or Israel. It changes every day, right? And a lot of people on the right, on her team, are very quiet about it. Which is, maybe she's your friend, whatever. You handle it whichever way you think. That's up to those people. But I just know that if someone on the left was saying, well, no, Charlie Kirk wasn't killed by the guy that we think he was killed by. Actually, he was killed by Erica Kirk. I mean, I think those people might have had something to say about it, right? So you either have consistency of party loyalty, or you have consistency of thought and ideas. And you can't have both sometimes, right? Going into this year, I told myself I was finally going to stop guessing about my health. Like most people, I want more energy, better focus, and still strong and sharp years from now. But every time I've gone to the doctor, I walk out with basically nothing. Everything's fine. Drink more water, sleep a bit more. No real insight, no plan. just violence. That's why Superpower stood out to me. Superpower makes it simple to actually understand what's going on inside your body. You do one blood draw either at home or in a nearby lab, and they analyze over 100 biomarkers. That's heart health, hormones, metabolism, vitamins, minerals, and even environmental toxins. What I love is that you don't just get numbers, you get a personalized action plan. Supplements, nutrition guidance, lifestyle changes, and even your true biological age that you can track over time. Price-wise, this is a no-brainer compared to the alternatives. Superpower used to cost $499. Right now it's $199, while other testing services charge $500, $1,000, sometimes more, for similar, often inferior information. Your blueprint activated with Superpower. Superpower is just $199, and for a limited time, you can get an additional $20 off with our code TRIGGER. Head to superpower.com and use code TRIGGER at checkout for $20 off your membership. After you sign up, they'll ask you how you heard about them, so make sure to mention Trigonometry to support the show. Once again, head to superpower.com and use our code TRIGGER at checkout.
Not to the absolute, because you're gonna disagree sometimes, for sure. For me, the way I approach it, if I'm being quiet about something, the way I would articulate it is like I have not seen adequate evidence to indicate that Erica Kirk killed Charlie Kirk. Like, that's how I would address it.
Yeah, I think that's
And I
fair.
would just leave it at that. You know, like, I
Right.
don't know Candace.
But on my point, the point I'm making is something else, Warren. And again, I don't really particularly care about having a go at these people who are supposed to call Candace out or those people or whatever. I'm not that interested. I'm just making a broader point, which is if you are, let's say, on the right and someone on the left made these comments about Charlie Kirk, the response would be immediate and strong and thorough and probably vicious. And yet, when someone on your team does it, you kind of go, oh, you know, I think attacking Charlie Kirk with her as well.
Yeah, that's going back to the idea we can't separate the character from the narrative.
Right.
That's, you know.
And I guess the point I'm trying to make is I don't think it's possible to play a team game while also being true to the fact.
I agree. I don't play team, even if it looks like it. I don't play team. I think Jordan Peterson was right to call him. This has always stayed with me. I don't like identity politics on the left or the right. Maybe it's because I was just listening to my favorite debate driving down here with Stephen Fry. I mean, it's one of the simple debate, but one of the most powerful. And that was the message. When does the left go too far? The right goes too far. I'm not going to, yes, and it goes deep to psychology, evolutionary psychology, why we band together in these ways, but it's a foolish game, I think.
Well, one of the things that happens is I think, in the podcast and content creation YouTube space, what we're talking about, which is ideas, and politics, they get meshed together. And so you have people who are talking about ideas, and sometimes they're talking about politics, and we do this too. And then those two things come together, and I think it's quite confusing. It's like, are you talking about ideas or are you talking about politics? Because they're just different games. And I think a lot of the discrepancy comes from that, actually.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's like the difference between the first principles and how those underlying dynamics versus how they manifest into politics. I mean, I agree with you on that for sure.
I think part of the worry is when we talk about education is, because I used to be a teacher, so everyone can drink now. I mention it every
That's
episode.
right, yeah.
I like it where it's like, yeah, you do. But
Where's your mum from again?
Venezuela.
Carry on.
Anyway, 2 drinks. But one of the things that you do as a teacher is you disseminate information, give them information. Arguably the most important part of teaching is not the information aspect of it, you're teaching skills. So when I was a drama teacher, what you were doing is you were teaching skills to kids so they knew how to be creative. They knew how to structure and create improvisations, long-form improvisations, plays, how to be more realistic on stage, etc. What you're doing is teaching people how to think critically. The problem comes if we don't do that. These skills are not intuitive. They have to be learned.
That's interesting. Yes, because I think the recognition of logic is intuitive, but you're right, because this is going counter against what we were just describing about that tribal evolutionary impulse to band together for survival. And yes, breaking away, pattern disruption is a pattern disruption. Most people aren't going to do it. The majority, I think about it like this, the majority of people are going to be like water. They're going to take the path of least resistance. It's easier to be foolish than wise. There's risk that comes with breaking away from the group. I sat down with Peterson, Dr. Peterson, he described it as being the zebra with like orange stripes, right? Like the reason zebras blend in is because they all have the same stripe. White and black stripes aren't going to cause you to blend into the grass. You're blending into the herd. I think you are on to something there. That's what I'm trying to delve into with what I've been writing and trying to put it into to words.
Because when I look at some of these kids, and you look at some people who debate these kids on campuses, and you see the kids get angry and upset, and then invariably the comments on YouTube is like, oh, kid gets owned or whatever else. And I go, actually, I think we all now need to be a little bit more adult. I've been guilty of this. I hold my hands up and go, it's not the fault of the kid. It's the fault of the system producing it. Because if